What's up, folks? HitPointsGaming here with another episode of our amazing podcast. Chris, how you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Corey, how you doing?
I'm thrilled we finally beat Kingdom Death, so I'm happy.
Oh, man. Congratulations. Congratulations are in order.
Destroyed it.
So today's topic is going to be the evolution of the handheld video game console. But first, as always, what have we been up to? Myself, PUBG. I've been playing some PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I have joined the militia.
Yes.
And I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I will say I was not disappointed. My computer barely runs that damn game, but it is really, really fun. Secondly, I got back into Street Fighter V a little bit. The character Abigail is really fun. I'm trying to figure out a good way to record VR stuff for this channel, and I'm having some trouble. I ran into more trouble before this podcast. It really worries me, but hopefully it all works out. Chris, what have you been up to?
Can I stop you right there? Hold on a second.
Boy.
I think you're running into trouble because you just said your computer's having an issue running PUBG, but you're trying to record yourself playing VR? Come on.
Right. But I've already recorded myself playing VR plenty of times, but I never had my video card make my screen go black and say, hey, bruh, you're doing something wrong. We're shutting down all your USBs.
It's just weird to me. Like, I would think virtual reality games would be a little bit more intensive than PUBG.
They're not. The virtual reality games look crappy, man. They look crappy in comparison. They really do. I think it's all just USB power, and my computer might be overheating. So hopefully I can finish that.
Well, just open the case up, put a fan in there, you know. Google Google it. They'll tell you to put air conditioner in there or something.
Yeah, I need like a radiator in there bad. Chris, what's on your video game agenda?
We just finished Kingdom Death. That was pretty cool. The board game. Check that out if you haven't. That was finally done. It was kind of lackluster, the ending of it, I guess, right? I mean, right, Corey, you didn't... It wasn't really hard.
I'm glad we won.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Yes.
There's a check in the victory column.
Cha-ching.
We were just very prepared for it.
Very over-prepared.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I've been playing more Heroes, Storm, PUBG, and I started playing this game on Steam, Lauren, the Amazon Princess. It's really crap. I hate to say that because I like playing like these indie games, like the smaller studio games, but it's like an RPG, and I just don't care about the story. And I don't know if it's because it's not a Final Fantasy or like, you know, a really big studio that's making it. I just don't care about the story. I don't care about the characters. There's too much story. There's too many options to choose from and where I want the story to progress. And I've played for about 2 hours, and it's maybe like 15 minutes of actual gameplay. So I'm going to give it like another half hour more, and if it doesn't get more into combat or like gameplay, I'm done with this, man. I can't deal with this. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of like DLC to it too. I just don't want to deal with it.
That's fair. That's fair, man. If the game doesn't move forward, then there's no reason to play it. People had that problem with Mass Effect 1. You know, when you're in the Citadel for a while.
Get me out of here.
For a while, man. I didn't care, man. I was just so enamored with the environment in that game. You know, like I had a space RPG. What? I am down. And they did it so good too, because it wasn't like Star Wars Space. Star Wars Space is kind of junky, you know what I mean? Like in all the sandy areas, man. It's like real Afghanistan-y looking in Star Wars.
Okay.
But Mass Effect is just like everything is gorgeous. Even like the crappy places like Omega they still look really good in the game. So I totally get that.
Yeah, but this game, I started the game and it's already slow. Like Mass Effect, your example, like you're getting into it, and then you're into the Citadel hours into the game, like, and you're already, you know what? I'm already involved. I'm already invested. Whatever. This game, I just started and it's like, that
stinks. That stinks.
Yeah.
Corey, what about you, bro?
Well, Chris, I almost have the same feeling with this game that I was not expecting from Supergiant Games. Pyre finally came out. And to your point, I must be like 6 or 7 hours into it, and the actual gameplay of this 3-on-3 type of sports type game that's involved, I might have played like 45 minutes. It seems like there's so much in between dialogue of a story that I'm not invested at all about. And the game itself is great when you're playing it. When I'm reading text of a story, lackluster, unfortunately.
That stinks.
So I've been trying to get through that. I picked up an oldie but a goodie, Don't Starve Together. So Andrea and I have been playing that.
Well, that's kind of new. The Together part's
new.
new.
Oh, Together's, I guess, would be new. I've never played any of the previous ones.
Okay.
And it is a blast.
Okay.
You know, she gets really involved in like Stardew Valley, games like that, like Harvest Moon. So I thought this would be up her alley, and it really is. And, you know, it's like 1:30 in the morning, and I'm ready for bed, and we die, and she wants to start over again. That really never happens. So those are the 2 video games that I've been playing. Board game-wise, picked up Seventh Continent. It is literally a choose-your-own-adventure exploration-type game. So far, very difficult. There's about 7 or 8 different curses in the first game with the expansions that it comes with. It was just a Kickstarter that I got. We have not beaten the first curse. We're like four times into it. It's very difficult, but it's fun. I'm determined to get through it. The other thing I want to mention is Gen Con was this week, the biggest board game convention in the world. A lot of things have been announced, so I'm sure we'll talk about that in the future. The one thing that I want to mention is Twilight Imperium 4th Edition.
Oh boy.
I'll leave it at that.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Twilight Imperium is easily my favorite board game that we play. It is, and me, I'm not even like super huge into like these crazy big board games that take all day, man. Like I do enjoy some of them, but for whatever reason, when we played that game, it just like really made me feel like, you know, I need to win this, especially because we play from like 10 a.m. until 2 in the morning.
Biggest space opera there is, yeah.
Yeah, it's so good, man, and I love that the different races really do have very different strengths and weaknesses. That's a major part for me.
Yeah.
And they play differently too. It's not like,
they really
do,
yeah.
They're so different.
Like one of them is a diplomat. Like he changes the laws, so you can try to make the laws be in your favor. You know what I mean? Like that's a huge way to win in that kind of game, like a space battle game.
Yeah.
It's just, do we need a 4th edition? Are they just trying to get more money out of you?
Well, you know what? I think the 3rd edition has been around for, you know what? I don't know, maybe a decade.
Okay.
And you know, they don't really reprint it anymore, so they like cleaned up the rules. You know, because of course there's a lot of downtime in between turns, so they try and make things streamlined. From what I've read so far, there's things that you can do in other people's turns to make it more interactive.
Okay.
You know, they have 2 other expansions in the last edition, so I think they took bits and pieces from each one of those and put it all in one box. So it'll be interesting to see how more things come out about it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it as well. We got to have another get together. But I think it's time to get to the topic at hand, which is the evolution of the handheld video game console. And I know personally, you know, what I had first before anything was a Tiger Electronics handheld game. And I don't know if was Game & Watch before that? Was Game & Watch before Tiger Electronics? Or was it like, it's got to be the same time, right?
I thought it was way beforehand.
Okay, I think it is too. I think the
Tiger came out much later, I thought.
Yeah. So do either of you own a Game & Watch?
I don't. It's one thing that's on my list I want to purchase, but you know, they're a minimum $100 from what I've seen. You know, and I tried to pick one up in when we were in Japan, Chris. We were looking for a few, and they were there 100, 150, 200, depending on which game it is you're looking for.
Yeah, right. So
I would love to have one, at least in my collection. Only because Game & Watch was my character in Smash Brothers. I was like, who is this guy?
Right.
I had no idea who he was. And we go back and look, and they were on these handhelds that I don't even know if they came to the U.S. I guess they did.
I know Matt's got one.
Wow.
I don't know.
Matt's got one for sure.
They I guess they weren't well known, I guess, when we were growing up. What we knew of started, like you said, with the Tiger handhelds.
Right, the Tiger handhelds, and I had like, I'm sure I can't remember all of them, but I know I had Double Dragon, I had Wizards and Warriors, I had Pinball, which I know Chris has. which is so good. I had bowling, and that's all that I can remember that I know like that I loved. And I had actually Virtua Cop, which came with a little gun that you can actually shoot at the screen. Which
that looks
so
pretty
suspect.
interesting. It looks so crap, like it's gonna be crap. Because the light gun didn't always work with the Nintendo, and now you're telling me like a $20 Tiger game.
It worked, bro. It worked.
Okay.
It worked.
I believe you. I believe you.
It did work, and I remember specifically like loving to play it on my kitchen counter, knowing I had a video game console in the next room. But for whatever reason, I sat there and I did it because I needed to, because my mom bought it. What do you know? What did you have, Chris, for like Tiger Electronics? And why don't you talk a little bit about like what is a Tiger, like what's in there? Like
I had a I had a Game Boy first. That was my first thing.
Okay.
And then after that, I got Tigers. And I think the Game Boy was like my big thing for a really, really long time.
Okay. What about you, Corey?
I actually never had a Game Boy up until maybe a few years ago. Actually, yeah.
Wow.
We never, money was tight back then. Couldn't afford that Game Boy. Although I did my first one was Game Gear, which I know we'll get into. But I skipped that first generation, which it's upsetting. So all those original Game Boy games, I missed out on.
That stinks. Like so,
you're also a little younger. Like I'm 3 years your senior, both of you guys, pretty much. So like I was around the age to get one of those. I think you guys may have been a little too young. If I was your parent, I would have been like, I'm not getting that.
Well, my brother is 6 years older than me, so whatever he got, I was getting. You know what I mean? Like that's how that worked. If he got that thing and I didn't get one, I'm sure I would have been upset. I'm sure. But as far as the technology goes, I'm gonna start with the Tiger because those, if you turn on a Tiger Electronics game, right? It's a little handheld game. They all look very different. The cases and everything, all different colors. They're probably like $20 back then, I think. It's just a bunch of like black and white sprites all over the screen, and the sprites flickered in and out in order to give you the feeling of motion. Usually was very simple, either bowling, like you're bowling, you're adjusting the curve, maybe pinball. Excuse me. On pinball, you're just flipping the things, and it's literally just frames of moving. And it was so random if it went down the middle. Like there's nothing you could do to stop it. And I remember playing the crap out of them for a long time. If you don't know what a Tiger Electronics game is, which I'm sure most of our viewers do at this point, being board gamers, I feel like definitely go look it up and see what you missed and what you didn't actually miss, because it wasn't great.
It wasn't great, but it was like I remember getting these, like a bunch of these for like birthday presents.
Right.
Because they weren't really expensive. Like I think Game Boy games might have been like, I don't know how much, but they were more than a Tiger.
Absolutely.
So I would get like pinball and racing and some other crap, Tiger games, and they were fun. I like you said, you sat down and played laser tag on at your house when you could play a console. I remember doing the same. Like I played the crap out of pinball. And I hated. I got a racing game, and I wanted it to be really cool, but it just was so crap because, like you said, it would like flicker in and out, and you just couldn't. It wasn't that great, just because the image,
wasn't great.
The sprite comes up, and you can't tell if you're on the wall. You're not going fast, but they were fun. They were really cool.
I think the coolest thing about the Tiger Electronics is when you hit the reset button and everything showed up on the screen, and you're like, wow, how could I get into that position?
Right.
That was the best part.
And Tiger Electronics games evolved over time a lot. I remember well into the later years of even original Game Boy. I might even have like a GBA. I still bought like those kind of games, but they were elaborate. Like I had a fishing one, you had to crank and throw it and like cast, and it worked really good. And then I had like a Jurassic Park one where it had a scope to look into and like to shoot dinosaurs and all this crap.
I never had anything like that.
Yeah, man. So they did evolve. They had one called the R Zone where a little screen came over your eye, and it was just another Tiger game basically, but You know, it was red sprites, and oh my
Oh.
god, it's so realistic. It's
Yeah.
like the commercials were horrible, like Virtual Fighter, the most realistic fighting, and it's just like these red sprites on your eyeball. So I thought that was some of those were good, but really they did not compare to a full-fledged Game Boy game. Especially like what I'll say, like, you know, mid Game Boy age games, when they started to get like really cram stuff in there, you couldn't beat it. And Game Boy has a funky screen. It's really huge. Mine's like across the room. I'm not gonna go get it, but the screen is green and black. It's not black and white, and it's very hazy during motion. But at the time, man, it really felt like having a portable Nintendo.
It was the best thing. It was the best thing in the world.
It was incredible, and you didn't know it as a kid that it was so much worse, but it was. But in reality, like if you played the second Mario game, Super Mario Land 2, the 6 coins one with Wario in it, that game is huge.
Game is awesome.
It's a huge game. You get different hats. Oh, this is not Odyssey isn't the first time we did the hat thing, is it? It's not. You got different hats in that one to get different powers, and it's very interesting to me what they were able to cram in there. Chris, do you have any like notable games from Game Boy that you really liked, by any chance?
Yeah, like that Mario game you were talking about. That was such a fun game because it wasn't on Nintendo. You know, it was the only way you could play it, and the characters were different. Like give me Mario, Luigi. Who are these other? Who's this other dude?
Right.
You
Where's
know,
Mario? Where's Bowser? You know what I mean?
Where? Yeah. That was a really cool one, and one of my favorites too is like the Gator pinball.
Yo, Revenge of the Gator. I had that.
That was such a great game.
So good. It's so good.
And obviously Tetris. You know?
Tetris. See, that's, you know what? I skipped right past Tetris. I tried to play it when I was a kid, and I didn't do it.
Tetris was cool because I had a Game Boy. Then years later, my mom like found a Game Boy somewhere. You know, she didn't buy it, but she found one somewhere. And you could not skip ahead, but you could link together. You know, so that's why Tetris was really cool. I was able to play it with someone else.
Right, Corey. What about you? Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You said you didn't have the Game Boy.
Yeah,
but,
I feel so
but what
left
about?
out.
Way to rub it in, jeez.
But what about like, you know? Did you play Pokemon?
Well, okay, now you're moving on from the original game.
No, Pokemon is an original Game Boy game.
Oh, I guess. Well, okay, I'm sorry. When I think original Game Boy, I'm thinking of like the big gray.
Yeah.
That's what it is, bro.
But since then, other versions have come out.
Correct.
That Pokemon was on, like you know, like the smaller version, like I had like the limited edition ice blue version.
What was it called?
Yeah, I got into Pokemon then, and oh my god, talking about like the same system and how big the games really became. You know, of course, Pokemon. I absolutely love it. Still do to the day. So
yeah. What was the second iteration? What was the Game Boy Light? Game Boy
Game Boy Color?
Pocket.
Game Boy Pocket came out much later.
Pocket after Color?
Much later.
And then
after
Micro.
Color? Oh yeah, the Micros. Those are terrible.
Oh no, you're right. Pocket. I'm thinking of the Micro,
Pocket.
The little one that's just the little. It's like
yeah. Those are terrible.
Yeah,
Right.
Light was the first. I think the first change version. Yeah, we had a few of those, and then of course it went to like Game Boy Advance, right?
Right. And this is back in the day where two-play multiplayer, like me and my brother used to play this wrestling game. I think it was called WWF Superstars. You had to link cable to each other. You had to have a hard cable going from game. It wasn't wireless back then, man. You had to be within 2 feet of each other, and you're both head to head, just like they showed on the Game Boy box. And you're going at it, and it was great. And it sucked too, because when your friend decided that he was losing and he didn't want to have it anymore, you just unplug it.
Boom.
I quit. And this is back before the days of stat tracking, so you know, like, he was really upset. And yeah, man, Game Boy for me, the Super Mario's, Revenge of the Gator. I had some like kind of battleship style game where you had there was like different enemies to fight, and you could send in planes to bomb stuff. It was like Battleship Extreme kind of game. I thought that was good. Some of the bigger games, like the Donkey Kong game on there, was excellent. The classic one, you know, where you're like going up the rapids or whatever. That was really good. And let's not forget Super Game Boy that was huge. You could plug your cartridge into your SNES and play your Game Boy games on your TV. And it looked great too, man. It looked awesome. And some games even got enhanced colors. So I thought that was awesome. But
it's just like to have Pocket, like to have, this small console at this time, and like when did the Nintendo come out?
85, I believe.
Okay, so like 4 years later,
Right?
this Game Boy, this mobile comes out. This mobile gaming system comes out, and it's not bad. It's not great.
No, you can bring it.
It's not bad.
Yeah, you can take it with you too. Like, it works good.
Yeah, it lasted a long time. It used 4 AA's, but it lasted a long time.
I thought that was awesome.
It was great. It was great. And I think one thing that we're kind of overlooking, but I do remember the commercials. I remember this commercial, watching it, and this kid is in the bathroom, and someone comes in and like kicks the door down, and what's in there? Laying on the floor, because this kid is just fried his brain out because of the experience is unbelievable, like anything you've never seen before. The Atari Lynx.
Oh, the Lynx is such a piece of crap.
It came out the same time as the Game Boy. Game Boy.
It did. And it
now, why did that take off?
Because Nintendo had already proven their brand to the video game market, man. That had to be it. Like, Nintendo, nobody, like Atari, not everybody had Ataris, dude. Like, Atari wasn't like an NES, you know what I mean? I had an Atari. I have one right here. But, like, most people didn't have an Atari. Because games weren't cool.
Exactly.
Nintendo came out, they became the household name, so people are like, yo, I don't want this Atari thing. Like, Atari sucks. Like, why would I get that? And then,
but this Lynx thing, it blew the Game Boy out of the water, man. It had so many. It was colors.
It really did. It really did. But it, at the time, why? Like, I don't want another one. I got a Game Boy, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I guess so.
It is what it is. But after that came the absolute champion, which is notorious for its short battery life, which is also color.
I don't even know if it used batteries. You had to use hook it up to a nuclear power plant. This thing.
A backlit screen. The graphics were great.
Fantastic.
Oh my god, the Game Gear, the Sega Game Gear destroyed the Game Boy in every possible way. In every way.
I think it beat up Nintendo, I think, if you ask me.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Then it was playing ports of games. Like, yeah, Streets of Rage isn't the same, right, on there.
It wasn't, but it was good.
Streets of Rage.
Yes.
I was doing all the moves. I was playing Sonic, which is its own version, which was great. Played just like the Sega ones. I was playing Shinobi. Oh my god, the Shinobi game was so good. You had to get like all 6 different ninjas and stuff. It was fantastic. It's just a fantastic time that I remember having so many games. I had Micro Machines. I had Rise of the Robots, which actually was a horrendous game, but it looked good. And the list just goes on. I played the crap out of it. Chris, did you have a Game Gear?
I remember getting a Game Gear for Christmas, or my birthday. I don't remember, but I remember getting it. They were so close together. I do remember getting it, and it was awesome. And I remember, like you said, the batteries. I got batteries. I think, what did it take? 6 AA's?
6 AA's.
Yep.
And you'd play for maybe an hour, if I remember correctly.
Like just over an hour, you get it.
And then I had to be like, Mom, I need more batteries, And then we went to Child's World, which was the Toys R Us back then over near us, and had to get like a battery backup, 2 chargeable batteries, which I still have. I just actually packed up, put away.
Wow.
But you had to like charge one battery. You had the charge battery pack, and you could play while the other one's charging, and it wouldn't charge in time, so you couldn't play for more than an hour really. But it was really good because it really was so much better than the Game Boy, than the Nintendo. It had color, and the Atari Lynx had color and everything, but it
was backlit.
It was backlit, yeah. So you know what? I can play it in the car at night when we're driving home,
or in the day, because sometimes the daytime light would also wash out a Game Boy too.
Yep, because you know what? Because I had my Game Boy and I had my micro screen on top with my light and my speaker and all my other crap on there. I didn't have to carry that no more.
Weighed 60 pounds.
Yeah, I didn't have to worry about that. I just had my Game Gear right here, 6 batteries, which also weighed probably 20 pounds. But everything was in this thing, Like I put my game in that I was going to play, my Road Rash game, and I was ready for a car ride.
Oh my god, I had Road Rash on there too. It
was so good.
It was good.
But
oh, good.
I was saying it was so far superior than the Game Boy but I really did end up playing more Game Boy than I did Game Gear when I had Game Gear. And I love my Game Gear, don't get me wrong, but I just, maybe because I had a bigger library for the Game Boy, or maybe I was just more nostalgic to it, but I stuck with the Game Boy more than the Game Gear, which I'm sad to say.
Corey, what about you and your Game Gear experience?
I only remember having X-Men and Desert Strike. I think I had
Desert Strike was good on there too.
2 games. And yeah, I was introduced to rechargeable batteries at that young of an age. It was a must to have. But to Chris's point, how it was excellent, but I only remember playing those 2 games, and that was it.
Desert Strike is just a game that you wouldn't think they would even port to a handheld console. Like, why? Like, who? Nobody's buying Desert Strike, but actually back then, those helicopter strike games were pretty popular. They were weirdly really popular. They were like really popular. Like Desert Strike, Urban Strike, Jungle Strike, and they were good. They were good too.
Yeah.
I remember specifically bringing my AC adapter with me everywhere I went, and finding a place to plug it in. I would go to my parents both didn't get off work till 4 or 5 o'clock, so I'd go to the after school program in Catholic school and would just be post up next to the nearest wall playing my Game Gear. You know what I mean? Because I would blow through batteries like crazy, and I knew if I had that, I wouldn't have to stop. You know what I mean? So I spent a lot of time in my bed playing it. I thought it was absolutely. That might be one of my favorites, man. That might be one of my favorite ones, is the actual Game Gear. Now, the upgrade to that, and they had actually a upgrade to the Game Gear itself versus this console. But you guys ever have the Nomad? Sega Nomad?
No.
Okay. The Nomad.
I know of it, but I never had it. Because I didn't need it.
You really didn't need it. And the Game Gear actually had an expansion port to play Sega cartridges as well. But the Nomad played Sega cartridges. So this thing was huge. It was like holding a book, but you're playing the actual Sega games. And again, though, the battery life was just garbage. Would you consider... No, the Virtual Boy's not portable, right?
No.
It's not even handheld.
It is not a handheld.
It's not.
It is not a handheld. It is
someone
portable.
Else holds it.
It's portable, but you still need power. And you could have used the battery pack, but let's be real, you had to charge that. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no.
No, I wouldn't count that. But to me, being, I went out and got one. That day, needed to have it. Whatever. We went and got it. I loved my Virtual Boy. I still have it. I wish I could play it, but I don't have the back of the battery thing.
Yeah.
Oculus Rift has a Virtual Boy emulator, which works pretty good. But I loved it, man. There's 11 games. I think I had 3. I had Red Alarm.
There's not many, no.
Right. I had Red Alarm. I played the Wario game. I rented it, actually. I rented Mario Tennis. The boxing game was fantastic. I don't know if either of you two had it, but I
rented it. I rented, like you said, Red Alarm, the boxing game, and tennis. That's all you needed to play.
Right. That was it.
Well, that Wario game was really good. I did end up picking up a Virtual Boy a few years ago, and that Wario game is the most expensive game on the console. But it's actually really good. I remember playing a few hours of it. It's much different than any other game, and it was good.
I thought it was good. The next one that I have here is actually a game console that not too many people know about. Again, I saw the commercials. I had to have it, so I got it for one Christmas. It's called the Gamecom.
No.
It's a silver console with a touch screen on it. Okay, it came out in '97.
Touchscreen?
A touch screen.
Whoa.
Okay. Now it came pre-installed with the game Lights Out. You know what that is? Where you press the button, it's a grid of boxes, and you press them. You have to try to get them all to go away. But
like Minesweeper?
Kind of like Minesweeper.
Okay.
But you touch the screen with a stylus to do this, and a couple of the other games had touch stuff. I remember I had one game on it, Jurassic Park. It didn't last too long, but the main thing about it was the audio on it was like amazing quality, like actual sounds. Like they weren't.
It had a speaker, or did you have to use headset?
Okay. Speaker.
Wow. Okay.
Like if you had, this is an example, but if you had a door closing sound, it would actually be a door closing. sound. Like, it was great. You could hook it up to the internet. Oh,
Wow.
and like upload your scores to leaderboards and stuff. All this crazy stuff lasted, even I played mine for maybe 6 months because it wasn't color, because of all the other technology that was in there. And, it really wasn't super great. It wasn't super great. That's just how it was. But I had it, and I thought it was awesome at the time. Either of you guys have a Neo Geo Pocket?
I had a friend that had one. I had a friend. That was it.
I was never too interested in one of those.
No.
But I think the biggest... before we go on real quick, we should mention, since we talked about LCD games and Tigers, Tamagotchi, Digimon, those are handheld. Those are in that kind of thing.
Yep.
Digimon being the king.
Digimon
being the king.
Excuse me?
Well...
You could fight each other.
Tamagotchi was the king, obviously, for a few years. Then Digimon came along, and everyone wanted one in school. You had the one kid that had it first in school, and then they were sold out. And you'd go weeks until they came back in stock.
Yo, they were expensive. They were like $40 too.
Yeah,
they were not cheap. But Digimons were an LCD game, like a Tamagotchi. I'm sure people know what those are, where you actually fought each other. Though you trained a monster, you fought each other before they became this super colorful anime show. It was this little thing made out of bricks. They look like little bricks. And of course I had the ugly brown one.
Yeah, but that was the only one that you could find.
Yeah. Yep. The blue is gone. The blue is gone. So that I think that deserves an honorable mention here. Digimon and Tamagotchi, those are handheld games. But
I've never even seen the Digimon one. Tamagotchi was cool when I was younger, but Digimon I don't ever remember seeing.
You moved on
in high school.
We were in middle school playing Digimon in the schoolyard.
Right.
That's right.
And Corey, just to let you know, something that we totally missed, like 3 years ago, they totally released like 20th anniversary editions of the original ones, and we missed it.
Whoa.
I would have loved to have had one. But moving on, we're going to go to probably the biggest upgrade ever to handheld, going from like Game Gear and from Game Boy and stuff, was to see the Game Boy Advance in person.
Yes.
Playing certain games, like doing full 3D rendering on that thing was crazy. Not full 3D, like Tony Hawk was like isometric, And I remember that being the first game that I saw and that I bought, and I bought Castlevania as well, Circle of the Moon, and I just feel like that was almost a Super Nintendo. I think that's basically what they were trying to get out of it, was like a Super Nintendo, and it worked great. Again, the audio from that thing, the speakers were really, really loud on it, but again, Nintendo flubbing it, not including a backlight, which means you had to have the shark light.
The backlight came into play with, was it the Game Boy SP version?
The SP is the greatest thing of all time.
Yes, that was the best one of Game Boy Advance. I remember playing Advance Wars. That was the game that we would play, like, after school. We would just drive and park and just play Advance Wars for hours, or play in calculus class and completely fail the test because we were too busy playing video games. During English, when everyone's supposed to be reading, I'm just playing through and leveling up my characters, and that I love Game Boy Advance. It was wonderful.
Game Boy Advance had full-blown RPGs. It had, like I said, pretty much every Castlevania game was good on there. It had cartoons you could watch. Like, you can just buy episodes of SpongeBob. They came in like 3-packs and watch them. They started releasing game compilations on there of arcade games, and I just think that especially the SP, man, especially the SP was probably the best second iteration, like one of the greatest consoles ever as far as handheld goes. It doesn't get too much better than that. Chris, what do you think about that era? Did you have one?
I had a Game Boy, but I had a GBA. I loved my GBA. However, like you said, there's no backlight on it. When it first came out, it's like the Game Gear was 10 years old at this time. And how did you not want to put, like, Nintendo really leads the way, however, sometimes they don't. Right. And I guess it would have cost, driven the cost up some, or maybe it would have had to be a little bigger.
Don't want to hear it.
But that's that's something that people would want, And I was in 2000 when this came out. I graduated high school, and I went and bought one. I used it for college, commuting in college and stuff. And if I had a backlight on that, that would have been so much better. And I would have preferred, a Game Gear at this point in my life. The graphics weren't as good as a GBA, but they weren't bad. They weren't horrible. You had good bright colors. It sounded good. The battery was horrible, but like the GBA, that was did that come with a rechargeable, or was that was still 2 AA's, right?
I think that's when it switched. The original had the batteries, and then later on, I think the SPs actually had the rechargeables.
Oh yeah, it didn't even have batteries, man.
And no battery.
Oh, it was so good.
Which was cool.
I do.
But you would hold on. You would have to like charge it. That was the only problem. So it wouldn't last forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cor, what were you gonna say?
The cool thing about this was you could get those adapters and play games and have it be your controller, right? Yeah. Final Fantasy Chronicles or Crystal Chronicles.
Crystal Chronicles.
Link for Swords, and that was great. Just playing those games, you needed it. I think you needed to have the Game Boy Advance.
It was great, and it was stupid.
Well, because once you lost the cable, that was it.
No, it was not even that. It's like, why can't I play this game 4 players on my GameCube? No, you all have to have Game Boys. You all have to have cables, and it made the games cool because like on screen is the overworld, and when you went underground, you played on your Game Boy. Fantastic idea, completely unnecessary, and like you could have just made a separate window on the screen for something like that, but it would have been like a cool thing to do as well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I have to totally disagree with Doug. Corey, whatever. This was one of the coolest things, and I am not a Nintendo fanboy. I really prefer Nintendo. I prefer everything over Nintendo. But this was such a cool thing. Like, I remember going to Corey's house, playing Crystal Chronicles,
it was cool,
and
man.
everyone had your own screen. You had your own inventory screen on your GBA, and you had to buy the $20 cable and to play. And later on, when we tried to play, you couldn't find them anymore,
Right.
We had to like go on eBay or somewhere to buy them. But that was such a cool feature, and it's something innovative that Nintendo was showing so early. Hey, we can maybe sell more GBAs if we have games that use it. I thought it was a really cool feature. I really enjoyed it, and it made me want to play Nintendo games because I never wanted to.
One game that I know was amazing on there was Pac-Man. When you played Pac-Man that way, they had it set up so that one person was on the GBA as Pac-Man and the other people were the ghosts. And Pac-Man could see the whole map, and the ghosts had to try to find a trail of where you were to try to follow you and get you. That was so much fun. It was basically like the Wii U version of like the tag, you know what I mean? The tag. But that was really cool. Next, something that I want to say none of us had because we were smart enough not to get it. Often referred to as a taco. The Nokia N-Gage. This was a phone gaming console that you played games on like this, right? Like flat, normal, right? But when you spoke on the phone, you held it this way, like a taco. You put taco to your ear. It actually had, I didn't have this, playing it at the store, it was almost PS1. I was playing Tomb Raider for it, and it looked great. The problem is, you knew they weren't going to do anything with this thing.
Oh yeah.
There's like, I'm looking at it right now, there's 12 buttons on one side of it.
It's awesome. It's a phone too, don't forget. It's a phone.
So you need the numbers.
This is before smartphones. This is like flip phones back here,
Yeah, this is just a total. Like I said, it was powerful, man, and it played good games, but it just didn't fit with the current movement, I guess, of video games and phones. Like, those weren't one yet. You were playing Snake. You were playing Falling Numbers. That's all you were playing on a phone.
And it's a shame because this was. Look at where we are now. Like, I'm playing Pokemon Go. I play Solitaire on my phone. I can always play a game on my phone.
Right.
And 15 years ago, this was just like 2003, 2004, something like that. Mm-hmm. Like, this should have been so cool back then, but it wasn't. And I think that you said, when it came out, I was like, that's such a sweet idea, but that's not going anywhere.
Right.
And that's a shame because it was such a great idea, especially back then. But
it was, but it just, I don't think no one was ready for that at that time. Next, let's move on. Now we're going to go to the next generation, which spawned basically what we have today as the reigning king. The original Nintendo DS. I remember seeing Nintendo DS and being like, why would I want two screens? Then I saw that it played Mario 64 and was like, yes, please. I'm going to go get this thing immediately. I got it day one. Mario 64. I think it came with a demo for Metroid, which is weird. It was like a Metroid demo. And I remember playing that and being like, how are they going to do first-person shooter on it? But you use the stylus to aim and one side to shoot, which worked out fantastic, by the way, in my own opinion. Like, if you look back, they had to compromise, but it worked really well. It just worked. So, the DS, I played for quite a while. I got Madden. I got so many games I didn't care about. I got Madden. Like, I don't play Madden, but like I'm playing PS1 version of Madden in my hand. I want to do this. Mario 64 had all these cool mini games with the touchscreen. You know, now we have a console that's backlit. We have a console with stereo sound. We have a console that has the main feature of it, of course, was the touch screen on the bottom, which you use actually constantly in most of the games. Like WarioWare Touch was fantastic, and I think that the DS. Oh, and it had the microphone on it, right? So you could like blow into it for certain. Oh man, it was it was a fantastic console, man. It was really like a super huge step forward. Chris, what do you think about the DS?
I'm already surfing the web because I never had one, so I'm just.
Oh no, the original big gray bulky
I didn't want this piece of junk.
Piece of junk. Okay, that ended the competition in handhelds.
It really did.
What ended the competition? We ended.
No, it didn't.
You could go back to the beginning of this podcast 30 minutes ago, and the Game Boy is what ended all competition for handhelds.
No, in the sense of other people were trying to get into the market still after Game Boy.
Right.
And they failed, but people were still entering. This just stopped. Okay, I can say like the Vita came out, and unfortunately it didn't really take off that well here.
Which we'll get into that because it should have.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great system. But really just the Nintendo DS, that was just the thing. And I think that's what killed a lot of the early cell phone games. Right. Where that really should have taken off, it delayed that because every kid just wanted a DS. I don't want to play games on my phone. Just get the kid a DS. That's what we would push for. Now, unfortunately, tablets came into play, which I still think DSs really were the way to go back then. This is when I first started, I think, working at GameStop. And, you know, I was selling DSs like freaking hotcakes. It was just awesome. So,
it was great, man. It was rechargeable. It could also play your Game Boy Advance games, man.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. Your library from all of those years of your original GBA to your SP, all of that still you could play. That's huge. It's huge.
It is good.
But after that, you know, after the DS.
All right, I want to hold on real quick here, because if we're going evolution, okay. Now I'm just going off on tangent.
Okay,
we talked about the Tamagotchis.
Right.
They came out in 1998. Huge selling points.
Absolutely. Like you find those being sold on the beach. Like those were going.
Yeah, they were everywhere. I had one. Everyone had one.
I didn't have one. I had Digimon.
That's because you weren't cool. But then after 1999 comes the best console ever made, the Sega Dreamcast. And the Sega Dreamcast has the VMU. Very similar to a Tamagotchi.
Yeah. And it did more than a Tamagotchi.
It did way more. But it also had a game, I think it was Sonic, that was a Tamagotchi.
Yeah, it did. It did have that.
You know, so you had a Tamagotchi, but with more abilities, you know, like with more interactions to your real games, things that you could also then you were playing your regular game and then you take it away and you can still level up your characters or participate in that console game. Right. So I think that's something really, really huge that no one's ever done before, and I don't know why. I mean, why not? You know, but I think that was mobile. I think there's also mobile gaming, handheld gaming in that as well.
There is,
worth mentioning.
I used to bring my VMU to school, and I remember being in biology class with Mr. Fails, and sitting in there and playing the Power Stone mini games to earn credits to come home and purchase the different recipes and stuff to make new items. I did that all the time, and it was great. One major issue, glaring issue with that was if you didn't turn off your console the soft way, going to the menu and turning it off, the VMU stayed on. I remember this specifically. The VMU stayed on. So you hit the power button, you walk away, that VMU is dead overnight.
Okay.
Right? So that was a major problem to where you had to know. I mean, it's something you worked around, but you had to know, like, all right, console's going off. Crap, I hit the button. I have to take out the VMU, go in there, turn it off, and stop it. But, I mean, yeah, no one's done it since. No one has done that since. The Wii U should have been the VMU, basically.
Yes.
And I think it was. I think it was for sports games, but you couldn't do 2 Madden players in the same room with it because Nintendo, for whatever dummy reason, allows you to only have 1, which just screwed everything up.
Yeah.
I would have rather just played a Wii U game versus with the 2 Wii U tablets facing each other. That would have been great. That would have been great. Like a Super Mega Advance Wars Edition, where you can see the whole map on the TV, but you can only see your units on your screen. That would have been crazy.
That's it. We were waiting for that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That'd have been crazy. But you know, Chris, that was a really good point. I'm really happy you brought up the VMU because it is a major portion. But,
yeah, and it's only made by Sega, the greatest developer ever. You know, greatest console ever.
Don't know about
but
that. So
something.
I will say the Dreamcast is the greatest, but I don't know about that. So, there was for me a major DS killer, and I still think this is the absolute greatest handheld system of all time, bar none, which is the Sony PSP. The Sony PSP, not necessarily because of the software that they released, but because of everything that you could do with this machine, was insane. Nintendo emulators, Super Nintendo emulators. Use it as a remote to control your PS2. I remember my brother. Okay, so this is a good secret, and I hope he listens to this. He was playing SOCOM one day. I've never told him, I swear. He was playing SOCOM, and he's sitting on the couch, and I have my PSP, and I uploaded this guy's software that turned your PSP into a remote. And he would be running at the beginning of the round, and I'd hit the button and just make him go prone. And he'd get back up, and I'd do it again. And he's sitting there like, what is going on with my controller? And like raging. And then as soon as I would see somebody, I would just start shooting everywhere. Boom, 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 boom. And he had no idea until right now that I was totally messing with him from the couch. But it was something that the PSP could do.
Yeah, yeah.
The PSP screen was crazy amazing. Had its issues. A lot of people were getting dead pixels and having to send them back. And dealing with that was a major problem for a lot of the community. The
actual like cartridges, like those discs,
they
would break. They were so fragile.
Yeah. The actual hatch where you put them in was kind of funky.
Yeah.
It was that whole proprietary media thing is always tough. It's always tough.
But it's cheaper than game cartridges.
It's cheaper.
Mm-hmm. And and that's where Nintendo hurt because they would spend so much money on these cartridges.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think they were hurting. PSP did not tackle.
Didn't do well.
Yes.
No. But it should have. And it's like playing Monster Hunter on that, playing Metal Gear games on that, like full Metal Gear games, man, that were excellent. Yeah. Just I like Darkstalker, Street Fighter Alpha, like almost arcade perfect. I still bring that thing on my trip instead of my Vita. Like when I go somewhere, I bring my regular PSP because I had the entire NES library on it, the entire Super NES library on it, the entire Genesis library on it, like just everything. And they even made it like it was so customizable. And yeah, over time Sony tried to patch that stuff, but you could like right now I can put a UMD in there and just rip it to the memory card with a touch of a button. And yeah, it's all this extra stuff like homebrew stuff that made it good, that made it great. But if you just had a PSP, I will admit, if you just had a PSP and you only had to play the games that were released on it, legit, it wouldn't be that great. It wouldn't.
But it's the technology that let you get there.
Yes.
You know?
That Chris, I don't know if you had a PSP. Did you have one?
No, but I do
No.
remember. I remember it. I remember buying movies for it. Around that PSP time, there was a lot of reselling that you could do. So I bought a lot and resold a lot. But you could buy movies. Like they made movies for that.
Okay.
You know, like that was crazy. It's the first one. You know, besides like Game Boy, where you could buy like SpongeBob episodes, like you were saying.
Yeah.
You know, like this was like you could watch
Full
King
movies.
Kong. Yeah.
Right.
You know, which is pretty nuts.
It also had multiple iterations, of course. You know, the same thing with the DS, which we didn't really go into. They had like the DS Lite, DS XL, which now is actually like for the 3DS is the main version to get. But you know, it had like the PSP 2000, 3000, which I never got because Sony patched out most of that stuff, and it made it much harder to do.
Yep.
But the thing had a microphone. They had online voice chatting games and stuff like that. Man, that thing was fantastic. And then from there, I don't know what these are. I'm scrolling through here. Oh, I actually am familiar with the Dingu. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those before. It's like a media player as well as a game player. It played like MP3s. It played movies and played all the stuff. Nobody had one, but I just wanted to mention it because it was actually pretty cool. It was like a total third party thing. And then after, of course, the PSP came, the Nintendo 3DS, which is the current reigning champion of handheld games, bar none. I will not bring my 3DS somewhere over my PSP still, but that does not mean that I cannot admit that the 3DS took everyone and still is taking everyone by storm. I don't know, Chris, you have to have one. I think we all have one, right?
Yeah, we all have one.
Okay.
Absolutely. But I don't know why. I mean, like the technology is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but like the PSP and the Vita, I think, are way better systems.
Yeah, they are.
The screens look so much better. The games look so much better.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's Nintendo and it's their games. It's their gameplay is just so good, and that's why we have them. There's just nothing to do about it.
They capitalized on making games fun for handhelds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why you would get it. Yes, the Vita's awesome, and you could actually play, your PS3 games, PS4 games on your Vita, which is why I still want to get one. But, you needed to get like a Nintendo 3DS if you wanted to play these amazing handheld games. It was a must. So.
We're talking like Monster Hunters, the new Pokemons. Just like there's a massive library of good stuff on there, and the original iteration of it was really kind of weird. Now that I think about it, it was like really flimsy-ish. It was like heavy, like top heavy. Mm-hmm. That like analog nub was really cool at first, but really wasn't. Like now that I go back, I wasn't feeling it that much. But you loved it because it was the new thing, and the 3D on it was fantastic. I mean, if you cranked it all the way up, you're definitely gonna give yourself a headache. But if you put it up like halfway, just give your game a little bit of depth, like Mario Kart and stuff. The Mario Kart on there was so good. Mm-hmm. It was great, man. And that came the whole same. It actually started with the DS Lite and the PSP, but you could start downloading games. Didn't need cartridges anymore.
Right.
Didn't need to bring stuff with you. That's a major part of video gaming now. Is no carts, no discs. But for a handheld, it's even more important because you just have all these games on your one thing.
I don't have to carry anything.
You don't have to carry anything but the console itself.
And
another thing... Oh, keep going. Go, Corey.
What I was going to say is, okay, I picked up Mario Kart, right?
That's where I'm going.
Right? You guys don't have it? Doesn't matter. Wi-Fi, we're all playing. Yeah, you might not have all the characters, but doesn't matter. And guess what? We're playing this game, driving on the highway. You're in the car next to me, and we're still playing.
Yes.
Right. Wireless multiplayer.
Amazing. Right? We did
that
going
was the
up
same.
PAX, I think.
Wireless multiplayer was the same for PSP though. It was all wireless on PSP as well, but nobody was playing
Mario Kart on
Mario
PSP.
Kart. So you weren't. I mean, you were playing SOCOMs with the 3 other guys who were still playing it, but you really weren't. There weren't these big groups of people all walking around playing Mario Kart and stuff. Oh, another thing that I did not. I wasn't into because it took so damn long. But what people really love, because people love collectathons, Street Pass is major for that console. Unlocking the stupid pictures, unlocking getting more chances in games. That stupid dungeon game, so dumb. But you would walk around with your DS closed, and it would just constantly ping other people who were in the area. And the more people you came across, you opened your thing up, and you saw, I think the max was 10, which was really stupid because you had to keep checking it. When you brought it to a convention, you check it every minute to see the next 10 people. It took you 5 minutes to get through them just to do it again. But that's literally why I quit, by the way. But it was really cool. It just gave you an incentive to always have it. And that's something that Nintendo, I think, perfected here. You always want to have your 3DS because you don't want to miss out, and you get this cool stuff. So bring it with you everywhere. Right. Bring it with you. Exactly. I used to bring that thing and my PSP just to get Street Pass while I'm playing my PSP. Like, I used to go back and forth all the time. But, you know, there's also some very important missed things there, which was the resolution of the screen is crap compared to even the PSP.
Yes.
It wasn't great. The construction of it itself wasn't great. The online was just okay for it. So there was some problems with it, but for the most part, it's still, I think, bar none, not my favorite. I can admit that it has to be the king, right? Like right now, it's the king.
Absolutely.
It's the king, especially going on to the Vita, which was 100 times better console, and no one did anything with it. They had the game I played most of on it was Dragon's Crown, which is gorgeous to look at on that screen. Everything looks good on that screen. Everything. The menus look good on that screen, but no support. It had all these cool features: touchscreen front, touch the back. You could touch, right? Like you can do things that way. It was doomed. So powerful, just doomed from the start. And it was dual analog, which is something that they kind of flubbed with the 3DS a little bit. Then they brought it back with the new 3DS. But I wish the Vita just had more stuff. And one reason why I know the Vita was good is because I got Street Fighter Cross Tekken on it, and it was good enough to play. You could play against the PlayStation 3 players. That's where the Vita was. If they did more stuff like that, where you could interact with the community on the PS3 versions of games, that would have been crazy for people playing Madden together on the go, playing online games of Madden. Like, I'm on vacation, but you still want to play. Just stuff like that. I thought that would have been great. Chris, did you have a Vita?
No.
No,
Vita only because why? Why would you get one? I mean, it is a far superior system, but it's just, you can't compete with Nintendo. You guys are absolutely right. I'm sad to say it. You can't compete with Nintendo. There's no reason to own one of these unless, like you said earlier, Doug, if you're going to put third-party modification, like software on it.
Right.
Like Kev has one, I think, because he runs movies and emulators and all this other stuff on it. But he doesn't. He has 2 games for it that made for it.
I have.
Why have
this?
Came
with it, and one other one. That's it.
Why have it? And it's a shame because I wish Nintendo would do something sweet like this with a great screen on it and great hardware, but they don't have to. The games they make are cartoony, and you don't need to have a great screen on it because it looks good enough with what they have.
Correct. One thing about the Vita that is great, which Matt brought to my attention, was it's fantastic for current indie games because a lot of them go to Vita as well.
Okay.
So the stuff you see on Steam, the indie games you see on PS4, like the PSN Network, all that stuff, is usually Vita compatible too. That's great because indie now is massive.
It's huge.
Games like Axiom Verge, that's great to take with you. It's an old school looking game, but it's great to be able to take something like Limbo, stuff like that. Fantastic to bring with you along the way. And then after that, I mean, I think that was it, right? 3D. Well, no, that's technically not it. It's not it. You have the new 3DS, which was more powerful, bigger, all that stuff. Just the next iteration.
But it's bigger too. Why?
It's bigger. The new 3DS XL.
I love the screen is that it's bigger. Because you want something small because it's mobile. I want to be able to take it everywhere, but yet I don't want to play. And this is my biggest gripe with it. I don't want to play Monster Hunter, a fantastic, awesome game, on a 4-inch screen.
Right. It's like.
So now I can play it on a 6-inch screen, but why not just bring it? I don't know.
Hey, we're
it's not
getting
mobile
it soon,
at that
dude.
point.
We're getting
it's not
it soon.
mobile. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Where,
But you know, when I got to carry around a tablet, a size Nintendo, I'll carry a tablet. There's
Right.
no reason for me to have this, and I think it's cool, and people love it because it's a bigger screen. They want bigger screen to see their games with, but it kind of
Now you're-
loses the mobility for it.
Yeah, now you're hunking around like a Goliath. Same thing with the Vita. Vita was pretty big. Has a big case. You know what I mean? It's pretty big. It's sleek, but it's like that. You know what I mean?
Well, they cut around it, so it's like perfect, just what you need. Like the DS is square. It reminds me of like a 1990s Fisher Price toy.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. But now we have the handheld giant. The handheld masters are bridging the gap with the Nintendo Switch, and I played a decent amount of it at our buddy Sam's house. I played a decent amount of it, and I just refuse to buy one right now. I refuse to buy one because, like, I want Metroid so bad, and what I will say by playing it is, it's great. It's great. It's exactly what you want. It's exactly
Let's
what you
keep this conversation to the portability of the Switch.
want.
Right.
Right?
The portability of the Switch makes it great. We were playing on his TV, but like I was looking at the Switch's screen. Huge gripe that it's not a 1080p screen, by the way. But the fact that you can do that and play your console games, take them with you wherever the hell you want to go, even though it has a Game Gear's battery life, is great. It is great. It is great. It's great that you can play Breath of the Wild on a plane or a train in the back of a car. That is fantastic. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's one of the things where you want the next Nintendo console, right? But you really didn't get it. You got the Wii U portable.
Yes.
Right. That's what.
And the portability is what makes the system great, because Nintendo's not going to be able to compete with Sony and Microsoft.
Correct.
I think they made the smart move. They went to the market that they were kings in,
right?
And they just changed they just stuck with that.
Right.
They elaborated on it a little bit,
Yep.
yeah.
Right.
Because if there's 3 games, if the game came out on any of those systems, I'm getting it for Xbox, which I don't anymore. I get it on PlayStation. Because it's going to be better. Right. Graphically, whatever. That's where most of my friends are going to play. But I have a Switch for those few games that are amazing to play portable, and that's it. So that has won the handheld.
One major Switch gripe that came out recently was the lack of a headset jack for this thing.
Period. You're absolutely correct.
Like,
come on.
Really? Now we're talking back to original PSP. I'm voice chatting with people with a headset.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But somehow the Switch, I have to use my cell phone and keep the app awake and on to like, that's insane. That is absolutely insane.
Maybe one of you two know the real answer. What is the reason? Is it really for this is a child system and we don't want them to be in touch
that's what
with?
They said. They said
Come on.
They don't. They said they want to limit toxicity, which is really stupid. It's an online game. You're gonna get toxicity if you play.
Put parental controls on to turn off audio. Period. Don't block it out for everyone else.
That's what I say. There are every console has it. My nephew couldn't make Xbox Live friends unless my brother approved them. He couldn't voice chat with random people, only with his friends. It's there. Those things are there. You can't even talk to people on your team outside of your party. There's no game chat option. Like, you have to all be like, and this is for Splatoon. This is the one I think that works right now.
Yes.
It's just really, really stupid that Nintendo always is like, let me have this amazing thing, but not really.
It's great when you're in person. Perfect. The 4 of us are going to play Mario Kart. That's great.
But dude, it's not even that. The 4 of you can play Mario Kart on just 2 of them. Like, right? Or like,
yeah.
Like,
you're right.
Like
even
certain
better.
games, certain games, you can have one console. Everybody brings their Joy-Cons and all play on it.
All play. Great. You hook it up to go online, and you're at your house playing. I lose all these amazing features.
Right.
It's unfortunate.
I think when we were in Japan, we saw like society there. people don't talk. Like here in America, like if you're in Pennsylvania or something, you're gonna walk into a store and they're like, "Hello, how are you?" Blah blah blah. When we were in Japan, people don't really talk to you. You know, and I don't know if it's because we weren't, you know, native, but we didn't really see too many people talking to each other anyway. So maybe that's why it has to do something with their community on why they don't bring it to their console. You know, it's a Japanese console. Maybe that's why. Hey, we're social, but we're not that social.
That's a good
maybe
point.
That's I don't know.
But, it's so hard for me to say that because I can't say that somebody who's playing Splatoon online with people doesn't want to talk, because that game is extremely team oriented. Then you have a ton of people who, and I know this is popular in Japan, who used to meet up, like 50, 60 people would meet up to play Monster Hunter together in like parks. You know what I mean? So that whole, the Switch is like gold wrapped in a turd.
It's a tablet. Let's just get down. Let's get right to it. It's a tablet.
It's a tablet.
Why didn't we
controllers.
have this 5 years ago? It's just a regular tablet. Sony could have made a tablet that was a console. Done.
Right. Now, like I said, I don't plan on getting a Switch for a little while. I think it's great that you can take off the controls and play, like, even if I just brought mine, we can both play together. But one thing that's interesting is now Nintendo is competing with themselves for in a handheld market. That's weird to me. Why
not?
You being the only person in there, you're competing with yourself. It's like, do I want to get, like, am I going to bring my Switch? Am I going to bring 3DS? Or now am I going to bring two different things? You know what I mean? So, like, games aren't coming out on the Switch. Like, there is no Monster Hunter for Switch yet, but I got it on 3DS.
Yes.
But I want to play Mario Kart maybe. But it's like, I don't know, man. You're
going to buy it. You're a Nintendo fan, you're going to buy it.
Yeah, if you're a Nintendo
That's just
fan,
the way it is.
You can't go wrong. You're going to buy whatever they throw at you. You know what I mean? It's going to be like this huge thing that you have to get. And I was that way with just about every video game company regardless. The Switch is the first one that I am actually not getting for a long time. Wii U, I waited. I got it. Smash didn't come out too much later. You know, PS3, I got it for Demon Souls, and PS4, I got it for Dark Souls, actually. But, like, the Switch right now, it's just, I feel like I can't do it. But that's I'm sure we'll have a Switch episode before we go on too long.
Yeah.
But as far as a portability thing goes, the Switch,
it's there.
Does it? It's there. It's great. It's just behind somehow still, like 10 years.
Yeah, and I don't know why. Why do we love the Switch? Why don't we love a tablet? Is it because of Nintendo games? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's tablets out there that are far superior than the Switch.
That's interesting.
Hardware-wise.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Nintendo, right?
This isn't new. This is just a tablet with a charging
with controllers.
base.
With controllers.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that you could plug a tablet in and get a
NVIDIA's got
controller
the Blade or whatever I think it's called, and it's the same thing. It's just not Nintendo. Yeah.
The Shield is the same thing. You can play all your Steam games. You can play way more stuff that will look way better than anything the Switch can output.
Yes.
But can you all play on one? Does it look cool? Is it Nintendo? Can you play Mario Kart on it? No, you cannot. And I think that's really what makes it great. But again, they just held themselves back, which is it's crazy. The Shield is actually on this list, but I skipped it. Oh,
that's fine. I mean, it's the same.
Yeah, they're the ones that they know what they're missing, and they choose to do that.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. They got a printer back there printing money. They don't give a crap.
They don't care, and that's what's insane to me about Nintendo.
Yep.
But you guys have any other mentions or anything you wanted to specifically go into about handheld games, Chris? Anything?
I think we pretty much touched everything. I'm glad that everyone agrees that the Sega Dreamcast VMU is the far superior system and is the best. Thank you.
Corey?
I'm not even going to talk about handhelds right now. I think we talked about them, covered them. But one thing I do want to mention that we are going to get into, and I have to thank Doug and his wife, we are going to be starting a Hunt the Killer game. possibly this week. So stay tuned for that. We'll touch base on that probably in our next podcast.
Right. Oh, you know what though? One thing that we didn't mention: mobile, cell phone games, man.
And that's a reason why.
Cell phone games. No. I think that your non-gamer's gaming machine is to play Candy Crush.
Yep.
And that whole thing, which I just never ever got into. I had maybe on my what I'll call a current gen phone, I had Downwell, which is fantastic, by the way. And like some Xenonia, I had like Xenonia 4 or 7, and it was like an RPG. And then I realized, like, nah, man, I'm bringing my game with me somewhere. I'm not playing my games here. I'm bringing my gaming console with me to play my games. They did take over by storm. Stuff like Clash of Clans, which I don't get it. I don't get it, man. People love that stuff. People love it. It is not for me. Clash of Clans is like if you had Advanced Wars on a timer. You know what I mean? And it's just everything is time and money based. Money is time. That whole thing I don't get. But it is. You know what? I feel like it died down over the past year or so. At one point, everybody was Candy Crushing, right?
Yes.
Everybody. But now
it's because you got to the point where you can't play the game anymore.
Right.
And without paying them money, and everyone's gotten to that wall. That's why.
Right. Yeah. And that was discovered. Like, they will give you setups you can't beat on the first try, just to try to have you wait or pay.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's in there. But I'm glad we didn't go too far into it because I wouldn't call that a gaming console. You know what I mean?
No, I never really considered the cell phone games a console. Just
right.
Lower end games for people that don't have consoles.
Yeah. But that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation, and we will be back in 2 weeks with another podcast of who knows what we're going to talk about. I don't know. We do always enjoy doing this. Make sure you check us out on the Filling the Void podcast network on Spreaker. That's where you're going to be able to find the download link for this. I'll put it in the description. And take it easy, folks.